Call to order and our land acknowledgement that we respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. There's an agenda before you. Are there any changes, amendments? And if not, can we have
So moved.
And seconder? Thank you guys, gals. And any objections? Hearing none. We have no delegations, and that takes us straight into our first staff report on the CIC bluff request.
I can figure it out. Yeah. Through the chair, thank you. This is a report really just for information to follow up on the delegations that Talk Rocks made many months ago. They were interested in taking a more active day-to-day management stewardship role over the CIC Bluffs, which is located just above the target plot. It's land that we had donated to the regional district a number of years ago, and it sits in the owned but unmanaged state. It has very well established rock climbing routes on the property that have been there for decades. The Talk Rocks request and staff are suggesting that we follow up with potential options for licensing the area to them and that would be a report that we would bring forward at a date that would provide much more detail about pros and cons of that, how the agreement might work, what the options are for an agreement. So that's what you'll see in this report in front of you, and it's really just more information that we'll be bringing a report back to the commission at a later date. Sure. Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Lockwood.
On the second page, through the staff, what is delegate management of specialized recreation assets to competent user groups? What does that mean?
It's a fancy way of saying this is a group that with rock climbing is very specialized. You need to engage a certified mountain guide, for example, to bolt a route. Have it be to a certain standard. So this is one of the challenges that we have. I'm not a mountain guide. We're not experts in it. So this is delegating management to a group that has expertise and knows how to engage with those experts. That's what that language means. So that's the value of bringing this group into the mix is they know rock climbing much better than we do. We need help in order to manage this area.
Supplemental.
Thank you. Through to staff, is there any way that with that, that we have some kind of in the report of how that releases us from insurance?
So the key consideration would be general commercial third-party liability insurance and what that group will need to bring forward. And I would prepare the commission that usually when specialized insurance is required, there'll probably be an ask for funding of specialized insurance, or there could be an ask for funding of that. So that's something just to be prepared for, that it costs about $5,000 a year for these types of groups to have required general commercial liability. And if they really struggle with paying for it, as much as they will provide us taking on management and operations and cleaning routes and bolting routes and ensuring safety and bringing the mountain guys, the challenge they'll have is how to pay for their conventional letter.
Another question then.
So
Thank you. If funding is released for insurance, and the reason I'm asking this is because we've just gone through this. If funding is released through taxation, does it still hold us accountable? It's a question. I know you're not going to be able to answer that, but it's a question for the lawyer. Does it still hold us accountable because we have released funding through taxation to help with this? So we're saying, yeah, we want to do this, so we're going to help with the funding. So does that basically null and void the insurance? Because now we're saying that, yeah, We want this.
Yeah, it's through the chair, just wanted to be cover that on the staff report.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Tricia.
So just through the chair, I'm just gonna take half a step back. So this report is somewhat in alignment with how we're trying to clean up our responses to delegations that come to commissions. So this particular group came many, many months ago. What Mark is flagging in this report is there's a variety of pieces of work, and really what this is also asking is seeking direction to staff to say, do you want us to continue down this path with this work and bring it back with more information as to what that project plan might look like, how it might fit with other priorities within the work that's going on within parks, to identify where and how we spend staff time doing this work. So there could be reasons to prioritize one project over another. I don't know if that's the case or not, but this is trying to move us in a different direction of proper follow-up from a delegation to asking direction to say, do you want us to do something with this? And if so, bring back a report to say, where does it fit within other priorities and how might this fit within a work? Is the most initial step. So just taking a step back, that this report was drafted before we started to shift our thinking of how we can better manage those delegations that come. So just as preface as to why other reports within this commission might look a little bit different.
Yep. I think we kind of capture a little bit of that in the next two. My feedback would be is if we can be clear about like the options and alternatives of like direction, refer to staff for further consideration. And that's, I think we're getting there. I was wondering if we decide here to refer this off and have staff do additional work, to have a bit of an even hand, can we articulate or quantify the in-kind contribution of this increase in service? Like this user group, volunteer group, specialized group of users are able to come in and elevate how that space is being managed. That's obviously some sort of in-kind contribution. Is there a way we can try to capture the volunteer hours necessary or anything to compare against the 5,000 they may be asking for to help with insurance?
Yeah, through the chair, that's a great suggestion. Usually we'll have understanding of capital improvements that they're making and operations maintenance costs, so we could have them itemize their key pieces in that regard and provide that type of amount for the introduction. It's an excellent point to bring forward. If
We decide to increase service. Supplemental? Go ahead, Michelle.
Just want to clarify that this is speculation. Nobody's asked for any money yet. So I don't know how much reporting you want to do on something and we haven't even asked for it yet. So I would prefer that we wait and see if we get asked. Maybe this group has money. Like there's just no way for us to know any of that. So I just don't think that would way too much, like spend too much time on something that's speculative. And we also have access to grants. So
I think the only thing, if I may, is this is a request they've asked for a license to occupy ownership transfer. We're postulating that be an agreement instead. And I think what I'm hearing from staff is that will be our own requirements we're going to bring to it, including insurance. So I totally hear you on like, let's not presume that they can fundraise and get the money to do the thing 100%. But let's also have an understanding of what amount of effort goes into doing this particular increase in service. I think they both stand. Again, let's not presume that we're handing out the cash. Okay, do you need any, aside from the discussion, and then I'll get to Diana, do you need a formal referral to staff or anything from this? We haven't had that yet.
In there, through the chair, the perfect world, giving formal direction to staff that might align with some of these other reports would probably be a good thing to give us. So like that the commission directs staff to work with the Top Rock group to bring back additional information on what options might be.
Okay. I'll move that if it's seconded.
Not seconding it. I think I'll ask my question
Okay, go ahead. That's your question.
because it's not related to your motion. So this is a comment. I don't know how long this group has been, or people have been climbing those rocks. I don't know where the rocks are. But as I drive back and forth to Salmo, from Nelson, there's rocks on the highway that rock climbers climb all the time. Pretty sure that they don't have any kind of an agreement or anything with the provincial government to be able to climb those rocks. If, and I'm just saying, if we said, no, we're not gonna do anything, are we kicking them off the land? Or are they gonna get to continue to climb the rocks?
Through the chair, I have no idea. I can't answer that question. I don't know, Mark, can correct me if I'm wrong, but right now it's a use on our land. So we are feeling responsible to do something related to looking at how we best manage an obviously popular rock climbing area that was, I believe, there long before we occupied the land.
Cheryl, did I see her?
No, I'm just reading the report. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Mark, can you clarify where the CAC bluffs are?
Absolutely. Through the chair, the CSC bluffs are located adjacent to Sabota parking area.
That's a really great.
That's the Nelson Summit Great Northern Trail, major trailhead that's above Fairviews subdivision in Nelson. And so the rail trail runs parallel to Sabota Road. Come on, you turn on Sabota Road, runs parallel. Just as you're about to enter Western Park, the properties we own are on the uphill side. Picture it looking down on like Mount St. Francis block that's above there. It's quite prominent. You can see it in town, but it's the block of Mount St. Francis.
Oh, by true.
It's not nearly as far. It's
No, it's not, but that area.
on that direction. Not sure if it's this table or council or rec, but it's also the spot where there's starting to become some overlapping uses with mountain biking, which has been, we've had to dial back on because some of the mountain bikers were creating trails through that section, not realizing that there was intermediary and junior rock climbing going on in the area on a regular basis. So there has been a bit of a need to formalize who's using that asset. And that was just, was that at this table? That was in council.
Yeah, through the chair, that location was over closer to the is that what we call it?
Is that what it is?
On the city side of the Sabota Road. So city, closer to the creek is city owned, then it's Ministry of Transportation owned, then it's now RDK owned, and then it goes Western Park. And so what Director Beans is correct, there isn't a network of mountain bike trails above. They don't, on our property, they don't conflict with the climbing. So that hasn't come up yet. The compatibility in the neighborhood, something interesting to know might be that the city of Nelson, still has an agreement with the indoor climbing group to try to construct, they're working to fundraise and construct a facility for indoor climbing, and that facility is located just down below the tracks from the CIC bluffs. So there could be some opportunities for the group to have summer programming where they're doing a combination of indoor climbing and then walking up the trails and doing outdoor climbing. They may be doing it already, I'm not sure, but you can imagine if the site is enhanced, the programming opportunities for the group would also be.
Just through the chair staff, can we get an the next report so we can see exactly what we're talking about?
Sure. Can I get a seconder for that original motion to have staff continue with this?
I really wasn't listening to you.
Oh, second.
I couldn't tell you what your motion
I
was.
would take direct staff to go ahead and do.
No, there you go.
Bring back up the report, just so that there's something formal for each. Okay. Any further curiosities? Okay, hearing none, any objections to moving forward with staff looking at this? Hearing none, that passes. That takes us on to our Nelson Nordic Ski Club. Craig, I've got your name on the authorship of this particular report, so would you regale us with the details of your report?
Good morning, through the chair, bit of a sound check to make sure that my Zoom connection is working. We had a power outage here a minute ago. Thank you. Through the chair, this report is, I'm going to speak to this real quick, a new way to look at the delegation follow-up. Tricia had done a bunch of work on this. I'm not sure how I got slotted first, in the agenda, but that's okay. I'll speak to it. This is how we're going to come back to all the commissions with delegation follow-ups. Requesting formal direction to staff, not through the long request for resolution report, but through this. And so I'll speak to this specific delegation and our follow-up to that now that I've gotten that out of the way. But if you remember, the Nelson Nordic Ski Club came to the last commission meeting and requested that they be permitted to extend their area of influence there where they groom the trails, additional 2 kilometers in the GNT beyond the Highway 6 crossing at Euphrates. And so this raised a bunch of questions about the feasibility of this, and that's all mentioned in the report and the considerations that staff have to go through to make sure that this fits. We do feel that there's a feasibility to this at a high level. Just need to figure out a few details with the Nelson Nordic Ski Club on who is paying for what, given that the RDCK has a already approved budget for various aspects of maintenance and repairs on the GNT, and certainly installing a trail gate and construction of a 7x7 meter turnaround area, et cetera, plus the enforcement of restriction on dogs is going to take some communication. But that's where we're at with this, and we are able to go back with direction from the commission to the Nelson Nordic Ski Club to make this happen. If there's anything that is over and above what's already approved in the budget or staff's work plan, we would probably have to come back to the commission at the next meeting for approval, or a board meeting if that was in between the cycle. But staff are confident that we can have good conversations and good collaborations with the Nelson Nordic Ski Club to make this happen, and it's feasible in principle. And I will take any questions.
Thanks, Craig. Any questions?
Sir, I'm just on my recollection here, so through the chair to staff, like I thought that this was a time sensitive item and that we needed to get some support in place like now so that they could do this month or next month.
Yeah, through the chair, that's why we're making the recommendation that we liaise with them now instead of coming back with a report with all of the considerations, and we can go and have that conversation with them. And if there's anything of a major obstacle to their request, which we don't anticipate there would be, especially since they're able to come to the table with volunteer equipment and time and all labor and et cetera. We don't anticipate there being any major obstacles. It's just a caveat to the commission that if there is something that's a no-go, we would have to come back to the commission with more direction or consideration. But we do feel that this is something that we can work with them to make happen in the meantime.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff. So there's a work plan prioritization, and it says work by RDCK staff and or where, as this is something that's not in the work plan right now, what gets bumped? Because that's one thing that we hear lots is that we have lots of parks in our area and we're always stretched for staff.
Who's got the question?
And also with that is, where does the funding come to do that work?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll let Carrie speak to the, I'd ask Carrie to speak to the budget for maintenance on the GNT, but I think it's a similar answer to what the question Director Graham asked is, if we see through this that it's a major adjustment, like certainly we're going to have to liaise with them, and that's part of the staff's work plan where the management would go and talk to them and figure out the logistics of this, and that is in addition to what we're currently doing. But as far as doing any actual work or repairs or improvements to the trail, that's the part where the and/or is in consideration for the commission to know that if we go back to the ski club and they determine that, well, no, we want the RDCK to do all of this, well, that's not feasible. So we would have to come back to the commission. We do anticipate that they are coming with enough energy and momentum and resources that they could also do this. And then it's really just an administrative task of getting, liaising with MOTT for permission to do the work, as we are the managers of that site. And so we, you know, the and/or piece is just for the commission to consider that could be the plan. And if that is the plan, then there is an obstacle. But Carrie, you can speak to the general maintenance and repairs on that, on the GNT, just at a high level, so that the commission knows what our work plan is there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, through the chair. So in terms of what they have listed on here as their work plan for them, like the brushing and rock move, like we're doing some of that brushing and everything sort of as we speak. We've just done a portion of that sort of thing. And then any of the rock removal would be done, you know, particularly by the group if they're going to be constructing a turnaround. Again, in the past, when work has been done in coordination with the regional district and the Nordic Ski Club, the permissions do come from the from Ministry of Transportation and Transit. They are the ones that say, yes, you are allowed to do this. And then, you know, a lot of that goes through them. And we have agreements that has to be left the way it was before, et cetera, et cetera. So it has worked that way. So I don't anticipate a lot of this installation of a gate and things like that. I mean, the cost again would be borne by the group. But we don't see that there'd be too much on our part. Enforcement of restrictions of dogs and things like that is actually a later conversation into the winter, because at this point, dogs are allowed in the summer. It's more on that groomed portion that they're asking to extend. That's all. Because as you know, we have a very successful part from Cottonwood Lake to the beginning of the trails that is groomed for dogs. So, so it's a little bit different as that extension past the highway, right? Because that would be used partially specifically for the trails of the Nordic Ski Club.
A lot of questions today.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Supplementary. When we talk about enforcement, is there a bylaw for enforcing dogs? Is there like, how do we enforce? Are we hiring somebody for the winter to enforce the dogs?
Yeah, Carrie, can you elaborate on the dog enforcement?
Yeah, so through the chair, those would typically be there would be some signage, right, saying like, you know, these trails are used by the Nordic Ski Club and dogs would not be allowed on that portion of the trail, right? And to be honest, it hasn't really, I mean, I won't speak for the Nordic Club, but from talking to members in the past, there hasn't ever really been issues with dogs on the trail. It's just having a sign up and things like that to let them know. So those would be permissions to us to say, hey, can we have a sign up insinuating that the dogs are allowed on the trail? So again, I don't see that as a large cost or time consumption on our part.
Okay. Is there a preference of the table for which of the two options are provided? Yeah, there's receiving information is option one, which is just to receive use information, and option two is to have seconder.
And I would like to, yeah, I'll move to.
Any further questions, Mayor Lockwood? Go ahead.
Just one, this is just reminding me that we were unclear on like the history of this contract.
Yeah.
And this agreement, and so like that, if we could somehow, if staff could look into that, or because nobody seemed to remember it at the last meeting, so just since we're moving this forward, if we could just include like
Bit of a timeline.
yeah, or just finding the agreement or updating the agreement, or it seemed to be before everybody's time, so.
You have another question.
Okay.
Okay, you caught that, Carrie and Greg?
Yes, through the chair, we heard that.
Right, Lockwood?
So this is about the actual motion because it says, and that any financial implications in addition to approved budgets be brought back to the commission. So does that mean that in order for any work to commence, if there's stuff that has to be moved or
Yeah,
Or
through
whether-
the chair, what that considers is, for example, if we meet with the Nelson Nordic Ski Club and they say, well, no, the RDCK we anticipated was paying for all of this, we'd say, well, that wasn't our understanding. We, for the installation of a trail gate, that would be several $1,000s. And so we don't have that in the current budget. If we had money that was in a discretionary budget that we could apply to this, well, then we could probably make that decision as staff to say, we're going to apply it here. But if there's a specific budget required for that, we would require permission or direction from the commission to add that to the budget. But I don't anticipate that happening. It's just that if we run into where we discover there's this big cost to doing this that isn't already in the budget.
Is that a follow-up question, Robin?
it's not a question. I'd like to change the motion of just taking out, like putting a period after ski trail. And if there's any financial implications to it, that it needs to go for next year. So is that a friendly amendment? I understand that Craig had said he doesn't anticipate, but
Is there, okay, I hear your suggestion. Is there a reason you wouldn't want to see it come in September or November?
because it's always a push.
So you just don't want to create the pressure?
Well, no, it's always a push. It's the last minute. That happens all the time at council board tables, is that, oh, this has got to happen. This work has already happened. We need to move this. So this makes sure that if the Nelson Ski Club wants it to happen, they will figure out how to make it happen without any financial implications. Working within the budget of the year.
Friendly.
Okay, staff, do you foresee any issues with that?
Through the chair, just to clarify that Director Lockwood had said that if there's financial considerations, the project is deferred to next year. Is that what you were saying?
That would be the impact.
Right.
She's saying that we wouldn't consider budget, we would consider any budgetary additions in the proper budget cycle.
That it,
She wants to ensure that we would not bring it forward until 2027.
that the Nelson Nordic Ski Club would bear those financial costs if they truly want the project to go forward.
This year.
Right. So yeah, through the chair. So logically, without that additional, then the decision to proceed with them would be based on their ability to bear the burden, the financial burden, and then they could make that decision. Understood.
Okay. We're considering that friendly. Yeah, the mover and the seconder. Okay, so that is as amended. So there's a period after trail, and that any financial implications in addition to the approved budgets be brought back to the 2027 budget discussions. Is that fair? Okay.
Bruce, you just said period after trail.
Period.
Yeah. And I added 2027 but I said budget discussions just to put it where we have discussions on budget. So that's
I don't think you need to do that. I think you just.
2027.
Yeah, through the
No.
chair, I think I understand what Director Lockwood is saying. And so if there was anything that we would bring to the commission for new, we would include that in the budget conversation for 2027. So we're going to do that anyways. Correct.
And with that,
So sorry, just a period after trail and no further.
2027 still has to go in there somewhere. Okay, everything in front of it. Alana, do you want to read that last section off for us? I don't, I just.
Did we not just eliminate that last section? Nothing after trail?
Well, sorry, I just wanted you to read it.
Sorry, so that the commission directs staff to liaise with the Nelson Nordic Ski Club to start the process of implementing changes to the operations and maintenance of the GNT to facilitate grooming of the ski trail.
That's it. Okay, and then the rest is just direction of staff. Okay, any objections? Seeing none, that passes. Thanks, staff. That takes us to the delegation request from the Blue Community Society, and Tricia, I've got you as the author here.
We're gonna move referral. We're missing 2 commissioners and especially Director Newell, who have historically been the finders of the Blewett Society. And Director Newell's not here. And so I would just referral on this topic.
Is there a time sensitivity around this one?
Through the sheriff and staff, I would say no.
Okay. On the priority referral, do we have a second?
When Director Newell's here.
Next meeting is September 9th, right?
You need to put
Okay,
for
put it in the
okay.
meeting.
For next meeting. That's just about attendance, right?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded. Anything else on the priority referral? Okay, and staff has indicated that there isn't a time sensitive nature to this particular request. With a nod, then I think that's fine. Is there any objections? Hearing none, that is referred to our September meeting. Is that it? So we got letter of support. Yes, the Nelson Cycling Club letter. So we have a request for a letter of support from Nelson Salmo EFG Regional Parks Commission to send a letter of support for the Nelson Cycling Club grant funding for grant funding purposes. The letter's in your report. Are you moving that or questioning that? Moved by Graham. Is there a seconder?
What is the letter of support for though?
BC Community Gaming Grants.
For what? Is my question is that is this to, because is it not at the last meeting, we heard from public Nelson cyclers that stood up at public time and had said that they were not in favor of the Blewett stuff. So it's totally separate, that this is not some trail that's gonna happen in that area. Okay, I will say.
And also the Cycling Club is applying to the BC Community Gaming Grant stream for operational funding
Either way.
to support the trail maintenance work that they do
Okay.
throughout the area around Nelson, also known as Area B. Surrounded on all sides, and they're looking for large support from us.
Second.
Connected but separate. Okay, so that's been seconded. Any further questions or comments on this letter of support? Seeing none, that passes. And that brings us to some correspondence here. Is there anything, these are just included for our sort of in addition to last time. I would imagine next time, if we're picking up a request from last time, we'll probably use in the correspondence section. Just for reference. That brings us to public time at 11:09. Lost our public. There's a few on the line. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to commission, ask questions, comments, considerations? Observer, Will, Levy, Wendy. Okay. Going once. Going twice. Thank you so much for joining us today at 9 a.m. And we will continue on the work there. Thank you so much. Can I have someone move adjournment?
So move.
So moved. Done and done. Thanks, everybody.